Coming up on the Angus Report, why rural broadband is a priority for the Missouri Department of Agriculture.
An update on the 2018 Farm Bill.
Have you signed up for the National Junior Angus Show yet? We share important deadlines for the annual event.
And Mother's Day is fast approaching. We celebrate the Angus cow and all she does for us.
This is the Angus Report. Hello and welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Clint Mefford.
Our top news this week. Broadband is an important tool for rural communities that are looking to attract and keep young people. Chris Chin, a director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture, explains why she's passionate about expanding broadband access.
So rural broadband is becoming a necessity. Just like farmers and ranchers and people who live in rural areas need water and electricity and telephone service, broadband is that fourth piece of utility that they need. Everything we do today is revolving around broadband. And so farmers need to be able to have access to the markets in a timely manner. They need to be able to look for repair manuals online. They need to be able to upload and download their planting maps and their fertilizer maps. They need to be able to use the latest technology that's available, because otherwise they're going to be at a competitive disadvantage to our neighbors and surrounding states. But more importantly, if we want to bring that next generation home who was born with a cell phone in their hand, we've got to make sure that they're able to use that technology. They go off to college, they get used to high-speed internet, they get used to their cell phones working, and if we want to attract them back to our rural areas, we need those same opportunities for our kids in our rural areas as well. It's expensive to lay high-speed internet broadband. It's about $30,000 to $35,000 per mile, so that is a problem. But we have a lot of opportunities to make this a reality in our rural areas. I've went to Washington, D.C. twice already in the last year to attend infrastructure meetings at the White House to talk about these very issues. There's going to be funding available through the USDA for rural broadband. We're really excited about that. If we were able to get rural electricity and rural water to every home in the state of Missouri, we can do the same with rural broadband. I think our electric co-ops, our small rural telephone companies, our larger telephone companies, they're all going to be involved in this, and every community is going to have to find the solution that works best for their area.
Visit USDA.gov to learn more about funding options for rural broadband initiatives in your area.
The House Agriculture Committee pushed through their Farm Bill draft on a party line last month. Pat Westhoff, Director of Food and Agricultural Policy Research Institute at the University of Missouri, explains what changes are in the bill and what the Senate bill could look like.
The bill that the House Committee approved here this week doesn't make radical changes to existing farm policies. We keep a lot of the existing major commodity programs in place. We don't change crop insurance very much. The most important changes are probably on the conservation side, where there is one major program is eliminated, the Conservation Stewardship Program, and the money that is saved in doing that is partially spent on providing more funding for the Environmental Quality Incentive Program and some other conservation initiatives. The biggest area, though, of controversy is on the nutrition side. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, is the largest share by far of the overall money being spent in the Farm Bill. And there, the proposals made by the House Ag Committee have proven controversial. Many Democrats are concerned that the proposals would have a negative effect on many of the people currently receiving those benefits, whereas Republicans are strongly saying that there need to be major reforms in that program. Senator Roberts, the chairman of the Senate Agriculture Committee, said that just given the rules of the Senate and given the political realities of 2018, he thinks it's important to try to pass a bill that has strong bipartisan support. So chances are a lot of the changes that were made in the House bill will not show up in the Senate bill in an attempt to try to get a broader base of support for a bill on the Senate floor.
There's a reason why the Farm Bill usually has broad bipartisan support. Westhoff explains why.
And people who would not normally work together on things that do work together in farm bills. And the consensus has always been that there's not enough people of one party from one part of the country to pass anything. So you have to have these coalitions to be able to get a bill done and get it signed into law.
The path forward for the Farm Bill isn't clear. And with midterm elections coming up, time is running out for Congress to pass a 2018 Farm Bill.
Allison Van Enneman, Cooperative Extension Specialist at the University of California, Davis, has been researching animal genomics and biotechnology for years. She explains why EPDs are such an important selection tool.
If you are making selections, you should base it on that EPD because that is the best estimate we have of the genetic merit of that animal. And so their phenotype or their appearance is really not necessarily passed across to the progeny. It's an investment in your future. Your herd of the future is going to be based on the decisions you make today. And the genetics is what's getting passed from generation to generation. And so that's really, I think, where the focus should be in terms of sire selection. Bulls are where you're going to make the most impact in terms of your future herd because, of course, they have more offspring relative to the females. And so bull selection is basically an investment in the future of your herd.
The world of animal genomics and biotechnology is relatively new, but it's revolutionized the beef industry. Ben Enneman describes what the future could look like while research continues.
I think we might have very efficient cows that are able to have good feed conversion efficiency and that are less susceptible to disease and that are ideally optimized to their environment. So I really think that, the purpose of breeding is to breed an optimal animal. Most of the targets, if you look at what people are working towards, is traits that improve the suitability of plants and animals to their production environment, whether it be, drought resistance or disease resistance, so that you basically have less environmental impact per pound of beef.
Check out Van Enneman's BioBeef blog by visiting her faculty page at biology.ucdavis.edu.
T-Mobile USA is facing a fine of $40 million after failing to fix rural calling problems and violating federal law. That's according to the Federal Communications Commission. After rural carrier and consumer complaints that T-Mobile callers couldn't reach consumers, the FCC launched an investigation. The government agency discovered that T-Mobile injected false ringtones to misguide hundreds of millions of callers, leading them to believe the dialed party heard their phones ring. And in many instances, the call wasn't connected to even start with. NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association CEO Shirley Bloomfield, applauded the FCC's investigation and emphasized the importance of network integrity to the safety and welfare of rural communities. T-Mobile agreed to enter into a compliance plan to prevent future violations.
Mother Nature has hit U.S. farmers and ranchers extra hard this spring. Wildfires in Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arizona devastated ranchers who are already struggling with severe drought. Harsh winter storms hit Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, piling up snowdrifts taller than 8 feet in some areas. But there is a silver lining. Producers who've lost livestock to disease resulting from a weather disaster now have another route of eligibility for the USDA Livestock Indemnity Program. USDA Undersecretary for Farm Production and Conservation, Bill Northey, recently announced a clarification to the program. The change allows local FSA county committees accept veterinarian certifications indicating livestock deaths were directly related to adverse weather and unpreventable through good animal husbandry and management. Eligible weather events include earthquakes, hail, tornadoes, hurricanes, storms, blizzards, and flooding. Visit USDA.gov for more information regarding the recent announcement.
It's time to register for the 2018 National Junior Angus Show. This year is the 50th anniversary of the Junior Show and will be held July 7th through 13th in Madison, Wisconsin. Ownership and early registration deadlines for the upcoming National Junior Angus Show is May 15th, and the entry fee is $60 per head, plus a $30 betting fee. Late entries will be accepted from May 16th through the 25th with a $100 entry fee per head, plus a $30 betting fee. To participate in the photography, writing, cook-off, and graphic design contests, sign up by May 15th. May 25th is the deadline for public speaking and career development contests. To sign up for online contests, the deadline is June 27th. Visit your AAA login for contest sign-up online. You still need to sign up for team contests through your state junior advisor. Learn more about the many contests offered at NJAS. Visit angus.org.
We check in now on the latest cattle market news with our market update, brought to you by Cattle Facts.
Hello, I'm Troy Bockelman with the Cattle Facts Update. In the USDA Prospective Plantings Report, released in late March, corn acres were estimated at 88 million acres. This was down 2% or 2.14 million acres from a year ago. Corn planted acreage is expected to be steady to lower than a year ago in nearly 70% of the 48 surveyed states. Soybean acres were estimated to be down 1% or 1.2 million acres to 89 million acres. Only the second time soybean acres exceed corn acres. The first time was 1983. Just like corn acres, soybean planted acreage is expected to be steady to lower than a year ago in 65% of the 31 surveyed states. Total wheat acres are estimated at 47.3 million acres. While increasing 3% from a year ago, this is the second lowest acreage on record. Cotton also saw an increase in estimated acreage, up 7% to 13.5 million acres. While soybeans and wheat are in a comfortable stocks-to-use position, with the decreased acres, corn stocks-to-use will likely be tighter than recent years. On the demand side, since 2016, corn stocks-to-use has been greater than 14%, and spot futures prices have been below $4 a bushel for most of that time. Demand for corn used for ethanol has been increasing over the last 20 years and is at 5.575 billion bushels for the 2017-18 market year. Expansion across all three protein sectors has also strengthened demand in the feed residual category, while drought in Argentina has reduced South American production, and as a result, export demand for U.S. corn is also expected to remain strong. Recent strong winter storms across the Corn Belt region will likely delay planting. The longer that planting is delayed, the more likely acres will be switched to soybeans or left unplanted. While weather forecasts for the summer are favorable for growing an adequate crop, it is important to understand the decreased corn acreage in the prospective plantings report. Strong demand for corn and recent winter storms will add risk to the corn market. This added uncertainty will increase volatility as the function of the market is to estimate supply and demand to determine prices. Corn producers may look for opportunities to price the 2018-19 crop, and corn users may need to look to extend protection in this time of uncertainty. For the Angus Report and Cattle Facts, I'm Troy Bockelman.
To learn more about Cattle Facts, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit cattlefacts.com. When we return, we visit Jeff Helt, a ruminant nutritionist who shares how nutrition affects cattle performance at every stage of life.
Then we share about the association's social media campaign, #LoveAngusMamas. The Angus Report will be back after this.
Setting cattle up for success at every stage begins with what they eat. That's according to Jeff Helt, a ruminant nutritionist for micronutrients. Cattle nutrition. It's important throughout the animal's life cycle, but keeping an eye on a few critical points can make all the difference. That's according to Jeff Helt, who's a ruminant nutritionist for micronutrients.
We have to start with the gestating cow. That's first and foremost from a nutrition standpoint. There's been years of research being conducted looking at supplementation strategies and its impact on cow performance, but what we're learning with those supplementation strategies, very critical for fetal development and the outcome of those calves, not only from a production standpoint, but a carcass quality standpoint. So that's the first step.
Then it's taking a critical look at weaning nutrition to be sure calves have enough protein, energy, and minerals.
Protein and energy nutrition are the first drivers for the immune system and really contribute to being able, for the defense, the body's defense, to be able to fight off those disease challenges. We're learning more and more all the time about trace minerals and their importance in the immune system and what they can do. Both those in combination with overall management practices, good management practices, can really improve health of those animals that subsequently improves performance and then the bottom line for all our producers.
Helt says if cattlemen have used the same program for years, it might be time to give it a fresh look.
So these cattle these days have changed dramatically from a genetic standpoint, and so being able to work with some kind of consultant, I would think is probably, or extension educators would be the best in terms of identifying nutritional gaps that may need filled, especially from a cow-calf standpoint. We do have routines established and look at budgets from a feed standpoint that kind of may impact how much we spend and what we spend it on. So being able to get a third party come in and really evaluate those programs, I think is critical to finding those nutritional gaps.
taking a few extra steps could help ensure trace minerals like copper, zinc, and manganese are adequate.
And so really doing forage samples, feed samples from a cow-calf standpoint, working with a consulting nutritionist to look at those trace mineral levels and identify what may be missing or what may be deficient and fill in those gaps with the sources, the different sources that might be available.
Helt also says a few extra pennies here could earn more dollars in the long run. Of course, cattle nutrition affects performance at every link in the chain. Visit blackinkWithCAB.com and Angus.org for more information. Back with the Angus Report after this.
At the Angus Association, we love Angus mamas. So much so that we started a hashtag on social media. Use the hashtag #LoveAngusMamas to showcase your very own maternal Angus cows as we celebrate Mother's Day this Sunday.
The only Mother's Day tradition that I have is with my youngest son. He would go fishing because I am a horrible fisher, but he is really, really good. He would go down to our lake and he would catch the fish and he would bring them home and I would clean them. He has to throw away all the guts and everything, and then I would clean them up and fry them up and eat them.
When I was a kid, we used to always get together for Mother's Day brunch at my grandparents' house. My mom's one of 4 girls, so we bring all of my aunts, my Nana, and my Nan's aunts, sisters, so my great aunts. Everyone would come together for brunch at my grandparents' house, and it was always really fun. So like many of our association members, we usually end up doing something with cows every Mother's Day, like every other weekend. And so once we get past the flowers, we pretty much go out. We go to pasture around May 15th every year, so we're usually running cows through the chute, vaccinating calves, and getting ready to go to summer pasture. And so I guess you could say it's a Mother's Day tradition for us.
For Mother's Day one year, the boys came running back home on their 4-wheelers and they're like, Mom, we need a taxidermist. And I was like, what in the world? Did they, they maybe caught a raccoon or something? No, they had caught a great big fish. And I mean, he was huge and they wanted to mount it. So I mounted it for them and we called it my Mother's Day gift because they let me hang it on the wall. It's good to honor our mothers because they do go through a lot and we don't really realize it until we get older in life. How smart they were, how intelligent they were, how they really did protect us from getting hurt. And then once we have our own children and grandchildren, we realize, oh my gosh, my mom was so smart and she kept me safe, she kept me fed, she kept good shoes on my feet, and she paid attention to those little needs that most people just don't even think about.
So this Mother's Day is really exciting for our team because we figured out a way to marry the Maternal Plus Incentive Program with a hashtag on social media to show off those productive and powerful Angus females. Maternal Plus allows us basically to capture the data on our Angus cows and make sure we're paying just as much attention to her as we are her progeny that she produces and the Angus bulls that our association members market every year. So we're asking our followers to share photos of their Angus cows with the hashtag #LoveAngusMamas, and then we'll post those top photos to the association's Facebook page for voting. To vote, you just have to like, comment, or share on one of the photos, and the winner will win a gift card to our brand new Angus store, which just launched. I will definitely be celebrating Angus cows on Mother's Day. They provide us a lot, and they provide a lot to their calves, and they're a great maternal being, and so that's one thing we probably celebrated right alongside my mother every year and my grandmother, is the fact that we have all these Angus mamas taking care of us as well.
Next up, we take you to California where we visit Abbey Nilsson in 5-Star Land and Livestock. Stay tuned. The Angus Report will be back after this.
Abbey Nilsson is the matriarch of the Nilsson family, and she has a passion for Angus cattle that runs deep. She's in charge of 5-Star Land and Livestock and has been running the successful operation for years. We tip our hats to you, Abbey, and all the mothers out there while we take time to celebrate Mother's Day this Sunday.
Yeah, I met my wife, Abbey, at the California State Fair, and we were both showing cattle. She had Mount Rose Angus and I had my ranch, and In every class I was in, she was in, she either wanted or was second, and I was always last. And I just figured there are two ways to improve my herd. One is marry her, and one is go buy expensive cattle. So I chose the easier way.
I love cattle. They're in my heart. I have a passion for taking care of them, for calving them, for breeding them. I can come out here, they're my therapy. I can come out here and sit and talk to them, and they can solve any problem I might have. I think it has to be in your heart for you to do the hard work that you do for the profit-loss situation. It's a passion. I just love my cattle.
This is run by my mother, and I've always had, you know, kind of funny dialogues with buddies of mine, and that also grew up running cows, and you know, this industry is so male dominated, and you know, as I've come up and started making more decisions and on the ranch, you know, there's still some things that I am still learning, and you know, I always kind of joke with people. I always say, well, yeah, let me go ask my mom about it, which always sounds kind of funny, but I think is pretty awesome that, you know, a lady can run a successful purebred operation. You can't beat working with family. You know, ranching is a generational thing. It always has been, and it always will be. I know so many people who, you know, they've been that are in the cattle business now, and they talk about when their grandfather ran the ranch, or when their great-grandfather came over from, you know, somewhere, and the cows just keep getting passed down, and that's something that I hope to do someday with my two boys.
The legacy that I hope to leave in the industry is the small contribution I was able to give, being a woman in the business and being accepted the way I have been. The contribution of within the commercial industry with the California Cattlemen's Association and the Beef Quality Assurance Program that I chaired, and mainly within my family. I think the legacy of my children and how they've grown, I think it's a good, strong legacy and contribution. Seeing our logo, it just does nothing but fill me with pride. We just did cattle. We showed cattle, we sold cattle, we raised them, we bred them, we put up hay. So it's just in your blood, and you either love it or resent it, and I happen to love it.
You know, Clint, the Nelsons exemplify what it is for a family to work together.
Well, they're truly a West Coast legacy.
It's good to see them. All right, visit Angus.org to view more episodes from I Am Angus. And that's all for this week's Angus Report.
We'll return next week at this time for more cattle news and highlights.
Now, in the meantime, you can watch more segments from Angus TV at Angus.org. And that's where you can also subscribe to the industry's leading publication. That's, of course, Angus Journal.
Thanks for joining us.